Hello, and welcome to the AUA Focus Series, a podcast channel by the AUA Media Lab. My name is Sharistan Melkonian. I'm the Dean of General Education and AUA's Accreditation Liaison Officer. In today's episode, we're going to discuss AUA's recent reaffirmation of accreditation by the WASC Senior College and University Commission. My co-host today is AUA President Dr. Bruce Boghosian. Dr. Boghosian, let's discuss the recent exciting news regarding AUA's accreditation. But before doing that, I want to give a little bit of background information. AUA first received accreditation from WASC, one of 7 accreditation agencies recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, in August 2006. Nearly 10 years after beginning the process, it was a long process. In March 2015, AUA's accreditation was reaffirmed by WASC for 9 years. And now, in February 2024, the exciting news, WASC once again reaffirmed AUA's accreditation, this time for 10 years, which is the maximum possible term of reaffirmation. This is quite exciting and a milestone in AUA's history. Why does accreditation matter? Why is this important for AUA?
Thank you very much, Dr. Melkonian. It's a pleasure to be here. To answer your question, U.S. accreditation is really considered the gold standard in higher education quality assurance. The accreditation that we've received from WASC validates the quality of our higher education, the fact that we have state-of-the-art facilities, the fact that we follow the best policies and practices possible. It sends a message to our students, to potential applicants, and their families that they're signing up for a very high-quality education. It also lets potential faculty know that when they come here to work, they're signing up to work at an institution that really is worthy of their talents and their expertise. I would say also that it sends a message to employers that AUA graduates will be ready to take on the challenges of their workplace. So for all of these reasons, really, we're very happy and delighted to receive this 10-year reaccreditation from WASC.
It really does have wide impact across the university. Thanks for mentioning how important it is to the students as well. How does reaccreditation for AUA continue to help AUA fulfill its mission? Is it important to fulfill its mission? Does it make a difference?
Yeah, an important part of AUA's mission is to bring the best practices of American higher education to Armenia. And the accreditation process really helps assure us that we're on the right track in doing that. Quality education, for example, ensures that our graduates, both our undergraduate graduates and our graduate student graduates, will be employable here in Armenia. And in fact, this is borne out by the facts. A recent survey of our graduates shows that over 80% of our undergraduates, and in fact 90% of our graduate students, are employed within 3 months after graduation.
Wow, those are great numbers. Very competitive with the U.S. Higher education system. So it means a lot to AUA. But does it mean anything for the rest of Armenia? What about Armenia's higher education system? How important is our AUA's accreditation to that?
Well, we feel that we are an important part of Armenia's higher educational system. We're very pleased, for example, that our WASC accreditation is recognized by the Armenia National Quality Assurance Agency, or ANQA, and it assures us we're bringing the best practices of Western higher education to Armenia, not only for our students, but for the entire higher education ecosystem in Armenia. This has the potential to bring up the quality of all institutions of higher education in Armenia. We're always delighted to share our experiences and enter into cooperative agreements with our colleagues throughout the entire Armenian higher education ecosystem, including ANQA.
You know, I noticed in WASC's report to us that they recognized how important the collaboration was between AUA and other higher education institutions. It was really great to see that they recognized it and saw it as important as we did. But they made a couple of really interesting commendations about AUA. One of them was about our boards of trustees. and their unwavering support for us. And I think this is so incredibly important, especially because many of our members are located outside of Armenia. Could you talk a little bit about the role that the board has?
Sure. We really have a very unique board. It's true that our board members hail from both the United States and from the Republic of Armenia. They're a mixture of experts, really, in U.S. higher education, in particular from the University of California system, as well as experts in philanthropy. Our board members include, for example, the former system-wide provost of the University of California is our board chair. The Minister of Education, Science, Culture, and Sport of the Republic of Armenia is a board member. The former president of the Academic Senate of UCLA, the president of the Armenian General Benevolent Union, the former rector of the National Polytechnic University of Armenia, as well as leaders of industry and Armenian industry, such as the CEOs of PixArt and of Service Titan, are all members of one or the other or both of our boards. They've all been incredibly generous in sharing their expertise, advising us as well how to fulfill our mission. They're all committed to making AUA one of the best institutions in the country, and they're very generous with their time and their advice. I've learned a great deal from my interactions with all of our board members, both about higher education and about philanthropy in general.
I've also benefited from when the board members have been on campus. They spend a great deal of time with students and faculty and staff, and agree that they've been incredibly generous with their time and sharing their expertise. And we've been able to build on that on campus. WASC made another commendation about AUA's financial sustainability and how far we've come over the last maybe decade or so. Can you talk a little bit about how we've come to where we are today, the importance of that, and anything else you might say about financial sustainability?
Yes. It's important to note that tuition at AUA covers only 40% of the cost of educating our students. So it's very important that AUA has an endowment, a fund whose interest it can draw on to cover part of the remaining expenses. In less than a decade, AUA's endowment has grown 5 times from what it was a decade ago. And it's the interest from this endowment that helps cover the cost of, for example, financial assistance and scholarships for our students. It enables, for example, us to continue our policy of both need-blind and full-need financial aid for our students. By need-blind, what we mean is that we admit students based only on their merit and not on how much financial aid they will need from us. The second of these, full-need admissions policy, means that we are then committed to providing our students with the financial support that they will need to attend AUA. But it doesn't enter into the decision of whether to admit them or not. We are committed to those two principles of giving students financial aid for admission. I think WASC recognized how important this is for the sustainability of AUA and the continuance of its mission, to be sure that all students, certainly all students in Armenia who are qualified to attend AUA, are able to do so, and that finances are not a roadblock in that respect. So,
it was interesting because WASC noted that it's very uncommon in higher education in the United States to have a full need admissions process, and they commended AUA for the efforts it's made to continue to make that possible.
That's true. In terms of private institutions of higher learning in the U.S., there are really very few full need and need blind private institutions of higher education. Public institutions in the U.S. are sometimes required to have those attributes because it's considered important for the public good. But private universities, we're in a very category of a very few universities, American universities, that offer that. So we're very proud of that. This reaccreditation process has been 2 years in the making. I think it would be a good idea maybe for us to talk a little bit about the process that brought us here. Dr. Melkonian, you've been leading the Accreditation Steering Committee. I'm wondering if you can talk a bit about the process that the university undertook to apply for reaccreditation and get us to this point.
Sure. My pleasure. It's been a little bit over 2 years. That's correct. And it really was a collaborative process. WASC noted that in its report to us. They were, it was something that we should be very proud of, because not all institutions are able to bring together students and staff and faculty to really engage in what's necessary to understand what our strengths are and also understand what areas we have to address in terms of improving them. And that really is the fundamental basis of accreditation, understanding those two things. So we started off with the steering committee. It's made up of Dean Aramhadjan, Assistant Vice President Anahid Ordian, and the Manager of Assessment and Compliance, Brent Anders, and myself. And we oversaw a process which included the 3 different working groups across campus. And every one of those working groups, again, included both faculty and staff and also students. It was very important to have the student voice engaged in this process. Sometimes we can overlook some of the areas that need improvement, and students help us. They're a mirror for us, and it was very helpful. So we looked at 2 very important aspects of Armenia's, of AUA's current state, and it was the integrity of our undergraduate degree. So how important is the degree for students as they're walking out our door? What's the quality like? What are its strengths? What are areas that we need to look at? So the integrity of our undergraduate degree was one of them. And the second was, what are our processes like to review our academic programs? And then we decided to also look at how AUA is looking at the issues around diversifying our student body. So 3 different working groups worked for about a year and a half, collecting data across campus, engaging in surveys, but also talking to folks very informally to get a sense of where we were. And then we had monthly discussions on campus where those working groups should sort of present what they found out. Presenting their findings, understanding, highlighting our strengths, really important. We want to be able to shout from the rooftops where we're doing well, but also underscoring what were the areas that we needed to improve. And these were opportunities for campus to provide additional input to us in person. And we also opened up an anonymous online portal for in case there were folks around campus who maybe couldn't attend the in-person events, but also wanted to share their input. Those opportunities to get input from campus were incredibly important because they provided some of the understanding of things that we might not see at first glance. We then shared with WASC what our own findings were. And I'm really pleased to say that even in WASC's report, they underscored what we saw as our strengths, but also, again, the areas that we also had already recognized as areas that needed improvement. And then we hosted a site visit in October, which was remote for many reasons. And we had a team of experts from around the world, including the president of the American University of Beirut, and a vice president of assessment from one of the leading institutions in California. It was a team of 6 folks who took a look at our report, talked with our students and staff and faculty and administrators, yourself included, Dr. Boghosian, and really were able to understand where AUA is at this moment. And they wrote their own report, which we received. It was fascinating. We were very pleased with the input that we received from the site visit team. And then we get to where we are about a month ago with a vote or an approval from the commission.
Yeah, I think a key point that you just mentioned is the way that we collected data to drive all of these decisions and drive what went into our reports. I think that the WASC Commission was impressed about the way that we collect data about our institution and use that data to inform decisions that we make about improvement, about the future of the institution, etc. So I do agree that's a really important point that they commended us on. There were a number of different commendations and recommendations. Can you touch on some of the recommendations that the WASC Commission made about AUA?
Sure. Yeah, they made a few recommendations, and they were really focused on areas that we had identified as places that we wanted to continue to look at. So one of them was, as we continue to grow the institution, both in terms of programs and students, to be sure that we are acknowledging the concerns that students and staff and faculty have regarding that growth, to be sure that we're able to continue to support students in the way that we have, with various mechanisms to ensure that we're able to help students get to the finish line, and even help support them after they finish, after they graduate from AUA, to be sure that those concerns are right there on the table as we're continuing to both, again, increase the student body and increase the number of academic programs we have. And another point that they said is, as we do continue to do that, how are we diversifying our student body to be sure that the American University of Armenia continues to recruit students from the regions across Armenia and international students, to be sure that the diversification of the student body continues to help Armenian students reflect on the concerns that international students bring to the table, and vice versa. Our students have a lot to offer, to begin to look at how important it is to address concerns from a very wide perspective. So international students help our students do that. And as we're doing that, to be sure that the curriculum reflects the interests and concerns of students, both from the region and international students, in a way that helps the curriculum continue to expand.
Yeah, I think, those are all very important points. The diversification of the student body, as you say, from bringing, for example, more international students here from the region, from other countries, from the Armenian diaspora, etc., and having them study alongside of students from AUA really benefits, I think, all parties involved, and helps to the growth of diversity within the university.
Dr. Boghosian, it was a pleasure talking about this milestone in AUA's history. Thank you very much for sharing your experience with our listeners.
A pleasure for me as well. Thank you very much.